Here we're going to be introducing you to the role played by your gut microbiome in athletic performance, physiology, and recovery, and the important role that this places on the athlete, considering all the aspects that a quality performance requires. And so the gut microbiome is a community of microorganisms, and these microorganisms are largely bacteria, but with just a few fungi and a few viruses. And the major location of these microorganisms is in the large intestine. Okay, we already discussed the organisms that make up that community. The interesting thing is that if one examines a healthy gut microbiome, it's different for every individual. So this is an important consideration, and we can find the source of that uniqueness in our study. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through the inputs to establishing a healthy gut microbiome, and indeed how it can sometimes go wrong, and that will include diet, genetics, and lifestyle. How the composition of the microbiome affects the system outputs, including making nutrients available and our immunological health, and how in turn this affects athletic health, recovery, and performance. So let's explore those ideas. And we look at one of the initial inputs, which is the role played by microorganisms in digestion and energy provision to the athlete. And so microbes are able to bring about the digestion of dietary components which you personally cannot produce digestive enzymes for. And these include the dietary fibers derived from plant material that we eat in our diet. And so what happens is that the microbes, particularly bacterial cells, break down the dietary fibers and essentially release some very simple sugar-like compounds, some of which we actually know, for instance, pyruvate. And they use this pyruvate to bring about the synthesis of what are called short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids, the microbes secrete into the gut of the individual. So they have no use for these short-chain fatty acids. It's an excretory molecule, but we find those short-chain fatty acids very, very useful as a source of energy in creating a healthy gut environment and in the regulation of our metabolic rate. And so this is a relationship that we have with the microbiome, which is advantageous to them as a source of food and energy to the bacteria, but also advantageous to us in the benefits we derive here. And of course, that is called a symbiosis, in which both organisms are benefiting from the relationship. Now, another aspect of our microbiome is that with a healthy gut microbiome here, these are the cells of the digestive system here. On the other side here would be your bloodstream. And so essentially a well-developed colony of beneficial bacteria, as shown here, actually causes the exclusion of pathogens. And so if one's gut, and this happens almost without us knowing, that our food is contaminated, and our healthy gut bacteria, our healthy gut microbiome wards off these pathogens and prevents them from causing disease. Of course, if one overwhelms the healthy microbiome with seriously infected food, with food poisoning, then these pathogens do establish themselves. And of course, we all know that that leads to significant health issues. And so for an athlete, a healthy gut biome is important in preventing secondary infections from pathogens which would undermine their training capacity. Let's take a look at the benefits that we've derived already from this relationship. So these short chain fatty acids derived from the microbiome digesting the fiber of the diet, we've got energy provided, and this is going to significantly enhance things like muscle recovery and, to a certain degree, muscle inflammation reduction. The shield, the healthy microbiome warding off disease-causing pathogens, is going to help, again, will help with our muscle recovery. It will certainly delay fatigue and support our endurance capacity. So very beneficial features already. Now, the interesting concept occurs is this what's called a bi-directional feedback loop. And this is this curious phenomena that if one exercises, it encourages a healthy microbiome. And a healthy microbiome encourages better energy use and recovery from exercise. And so we get into a cyclic reinforcing process here, that good exercise produces good microbiome, and good microbiome encourages good exercise, and good exercise encourages good microbiome. And the long-term consequence of this is that athletes consistently show greater microbial diversity compared to non-athletes. They've got healthier communities of microbes in their digestive system. Now, we did mention that individuals are unique. Our genetics is unique. And this uniqueness is as a consequence of our genes. And our genes are important in influencing things like immune responses and the internal gut environment. And together, these create environments, habitats, if you like, for particular combinations of microbial populations which are beneficial to our health. And so we are all individually unique. And this is an important point when it comes to advising athletes on how to achieve a healthy gut microbiome. We must remember that everybody is different. Now, this healthy gut environment can be undermined by some of the what would appear beneficial medications, and in particular here we're thinking of antibiotics. Antibiotics kill bacterial cells, and whilst one might take antibiotics to protect ourselves from an infection that we have obtained, we should be cognizant of the fact that these antibiotics will reduce the diversity of our microbiome. They will kill off beneficial microbiomes, and this is with an overuse of antibiotics can undermine our gut health, our gut microbiome, and we would lose all the benefits that we have spoken of so far. So careful use of antibiotics when considering the gut microbiome. This is an interesting phenomena, is that if you look at the most influential of factors in determining having a healthy gut microbiome, it is your diet. And so a highly processed diet will create a very poor microbiome. We need a well-balanced diet that features high fiber intake. The diet needs to be a balanced diet. It needs to feature unprocessed foods. I've already mentioned the fiber, but unprocessed, and these will encourage healthy microbiomes, which so that we can derive all the benefits to our athletic performance. And of course, this is true of the entire population. If we consider lifestyle more broadly, we can see that physical activity can, in the bidirectional relationship, can enhance our gut microbiome. So good physical activity will encourage the microbiome. And of course, a sedentary lifestyle of no exercise will undermine your gut microbiome. There are certain things which are known to upset our microbiome. Stress is not good for the community of organisms in our digestive system. It is actually sensitive to such stresses. And of course, as an athlete, any stress which affects our gut microbiome is going to affect our performance, and so therefore these stress loads need to be managed. Athletes, of course, often travel. They often move to changing environments. We see this in the large international meets which take place between athletes, such as the Olympics, where athletes have to travel to different parts of the world, and in those different parts of the world they encounter a changing environment. And even the actual process of long distance travel can affect your gut microbiome. It upsets the process of digestion, and it upsets the microbiome. And so a serious athlete looking for peak performance would need to take into account how to minimize the travel influence and how to minimize some of these changing environments, such as warm temperatures or cold temperatures, changes in the periodicity of daylight at times of year. But of course, we could include in our changing environment the foods which one encounters in different parts of the world and how that could influence, since we know that diet is important, the most important factor in our microbiome. This could undermine your gut microbiome and therefore impact on your performance. And of course, unsurprisingly, quality sleep plays an important role in the healthy gut microbiome. The mechanism by which it does so may not be particularly clear, but we do know that that's the case. These factors need to be managed by any serious athlete, and a failure to manage them would move us from a balanced, symbiotic microbiome supporting our sporting performance to a dysbiosis, an imbalance in our gut microbiome, which would lead to conditions such as reduced digestion of nutrients, gastrointestinal disorders, systematic inflammation in our joints, impaired immune function. Many of these factors here lead to what we might recognize under the title of chronic fatigue syndrome. These are aspects of chronic fatigue syndrome. And such a dysfunctional gut microbiome would lead to unexplained fatigue, poor training recovery, increased illness and interruption of training blocks, and as I said, these are aspects of chronic fatigue syndrome. And the issue with chronic fatigue syndrome is that using the word syndrome indicates that for the athlete this is often manifests itself in a very individual way as well. And so if we move to the idea of managing our microbiome, there's a great deal of advice available in the form of adverts and people trying to promote products that will improve our gut microbiome. The important caveat that needs to be recognized at the moment is that remember that each individual has a unique microbiome, and therefore generic solutions or generic treatments or substances that you can take to enhance your performance and your microbiome are produced for the general population and not for the individual. And scientific evidence of their effectiveness, even though they are widely promoted and well known, is not scientifically established. And treatment for the individual is definitely not scientifically established. And so to summarize, we see that these inputs here of diet, genetics, medications, and lifestyle affect the composition of the microbiome. We are looking to achieve symbiosis and looking to avoid dysbiosis. This enhances the availability of nutrients and immunological health, and in turn this will lead to a better management of our energy metabolism, our recovery, reducing inflammation from exercise, and avoiding unnecessary fatigue resulting from performance. The healthy microbiome in that bidirectional relationship can lead to enhanced performance. So the key takeaways are here. You might like to pause the video, take a little bit of time to absorb these takeaways. That completes the video.